All right, in this video, I'm going to walk you through how to set up a podcast. So I know that if you are doing weekly content and you want to get it out to more places, a podcast is a really popular option right now. So I thought and I figured that I would just show you guys exactly how to do it from scratch. So the first thing you're going to want to do, which would make sense if you're going to do a podcast, is to release or record the audio. All right, so you can do this by just stripping the audio off a video if you already have one, or using fresh content. And literally the gear that I use is for me personally, just lean over the camera here, is an Audio-Technica ATR 2100 USB microphone. I think that cost me about $50 from Amazon if you want to record pure audio. Obviously, if you are not worrying about that, if you're taking it straight from a video, you won't need to worry about that. And then the software that I personally use is Logic Pro X, but that is $300 software, but I use that because I also produce music. You don't need to use that. You can use Audacity, which is completely free, and that's just a free download that you can get. So that's Audacity. You can download that for free, import your audio in there, chop the start and the finish off, add an intro if you want to. On that topic, if you want to have an intro, of course you can do them yourself. I did mine on my own, only because I know how to do it. But if you are not sure how to make your own intros and that sort of thing, go to Fiverr.com or Upwork and tell people, hey, I want an intro for my podcast. Here's what I want it to say. Here's the kind of music that I want. And they'll probably charge you somewhere between $5 and $100. And you get one professionally produced and sent back to you that you can use at the start of every episode. And essentially what you would do there is you would slice in fact, I'll show you. Let me just share my screen. You would slice it in so it looks like this. Now, this is Logic, so of course this looks probably a little bit more intense than you might be used to. So let me just move my face out of the way so I can see what I'm doing here. So you'll see here, get rid of that track and that one. So this here is my voice for the intro. This here is the piece of music. By the way, if you're going to use music, make sure you have clearance to use the music. And this is the actual thing here. So I don't know if you'll hear this, but basically when I play that, that's my voice, etc. And then here it just goes into, and that's audio that is straight from a video. So that's nothing fancy. All right. I'm not going to talk about audio editing in this video at all because it's long and can be quite in depth. Again, don't overcomplicate it. Okay. So that's step one. Now you got your audio. What do you do with it? You bounce it, as they call it, or download it onto your computer or onto a hard drive in MP3 or WAV file format. I always just go for MP3 because the file size is smaller, so it uploads faster. Quality is pretty much no different, especially because most people are listening on a mobile device, so it gets compressed anyway. So anyway, gone too complex. So that's that. Now, what you need to do to get it online, let me give you the free version first, and then we can go through the paid version, which is what I use. And it's not expensive. So first of all, let me just find a Google Chrome window. So for a free version, you go to SoundCloud and you open up a SoundCloud account. It's completely free to open your account on SoundCloud. I think it gives you a few videos at a time, so you can do it that way. All right, that's step one. So that's easy. The other way that you can do it is upload your videos. You can upload your MP3 as a video file to YouTube, and then you can direct people to your YouTube channel, which could be a podcast channel, theoretically. They are both completely free. They won't cost you a cent. And obviously on YouTube, you can put as much stuff on there as you want. You can also do things like Dropbox, Google Drive, that sort of thing, but it obviously is not as user-friendly. So I would recommend SoundCloud or YouTube if you want to go for the free option. What I recommend, though, is that you go to Google and you type in Libsyn, which stands for Liberated Syndication, and you'll see here it's a podcast hosting service. When you click on there, you're going to start up an account, and the plans start from $5. So it's not expensive at all. And that, for the most part, is going to be plenty to get, one episode a week live on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, so on. So very, very simple. So you click on sign up, you go through the process, and it will take you through the startup process. And it will take you through a process of also adding your show and setting up your show. All right. Now, one thing you need to bear in mind is that you want to set up a cover for your podcast. To do that, go to canva.com. And there's a specific size, but I'm pretty sure from memory that if you use a Instagram template like this, you can use that to create your own podcast file. So if you just go create design, and you come down here to Instagram, and then you literally just add your photo or whatever you want to do, and you can create your cover very, very quickly and very, very easily using this method. Okay, so that's what I would recommend there. Now that you've got your cover, you download that and you save it somewhere safe because you're going to need it for every episode that you upload. So now back to liberated syndication, or libsyn as we refer to it. What you're going to have when you come in here is you're going to have a dashboard, and the dashboard is going to look like this. So we can just close all of these down. And then what you want to do is you want to create a new episode. All right. So to do that, you'll see your show will show up here, by the way, whatever your show is called. Mine's called The Difference Makers. You come up here to content and you click on add new episode. All right. I'm literally going to do this because I have to add an episode right now. So that's pretty simple. So you'll see it's pretty much just a sort of step through process. All right. If you want to have a look at anything you've previously published, you can do that over here. Anything that's scheduled is here. So the first thing you want to do is add your media file. All right, so I'm going to add that now, and I'll pause this video once I start this, but you just find the file wherever it is on your drive, and I know that mine is right here, under podcast files. I just saved it there, and there it is right there, okay? So you'll see it's not a very big file, 10, 11 megabytes, so that won't take very long, so I'll just pause whilst we do that. So there we go. We now have the upload successful message right there. So that is done. Now what we want to do is we want to come down here and we want to click on go to details. Okay. So this is where we're going to put the title in of the content. And then if you scroll down, you'll see that it's got Apple Podcasts content as well. So you've got Apple Podcast title, Apple Podcast summary. So this is the information that you see in iTunes. Okay. This at the top is what they would see if they just go to your RSS feed, which is the feed that you might use on your website, your blog, that sort of thing. All right. So this video here is called How to Close Sales Without Being Sleazy or Weird. Okay. And then this bit here, I'll just leave blank for now, just for the purpose of this video. I can come back and edit that later. So I'd just come down here and I'd do the same thing there, and I'd also add in whatever the description is here. So you'd add in your description here, okay? So I might write here, in this video, you'll revised. Now, really important on your iTunes description here that you put in your website. The reason for that is because people go to iTunes and they need to find you. So it's really important that you put in your contact details in that one. So up here, I'll put the same thing, even though I'll get rid of that line there because that's going to already be on my website. So that's it. Now, if you are doing a trailer or a bonus or whatever, you can change this here. If it's on a season or an episode number, you can do that there. I don't ever worry about that. Very important though, if you swear in the episode, you must tell iTunes because they will add a little E next to the podcast so people know that it's not clean, so they don't listen in front of their children or at work or whatever. Okay. Now the author, obviously this is you, and you can put whatever you want here. I normally just put sales and marketing strategist, whatever that means. But and then we go to artwork. So that's it, done. So that's the description done, and we've uploaded the file. Now this is the thumbnail, right? The thumbnail is the little picture that comes up as your artwork for your episode. So you're going to go to upload new. You're going to choose the file. And then I am going to find in here my podcast cover. So I'm just going to pause while I find that. So there it is right there. Difference Makers podcast cover. We're going to press open and you'll see it'll upload the cover, and you'll see the cover will be displayed here in a moment when that loads up. That'll only take a second or two with my extremely fast internet. Here it comes. And of course, the reason I'm sitting here watching it load is because I want to make sure it's the right cover. You don't want to put something different on. So it doesn't have to be too crazy. That's very simple. Don't worry about the widescreen image unless you're going to use YouTube as your destination. all right? Because obviously you don't want to have square on YouTube, which is normal width. So then we go to scheduling. So just to recap what we've done, we've added the episode MP3 file, we've added the description, and you can go nuts on the description and meta tags and all that stuff, but I'm not going to go into that in this video. We have added the cover, and now we're scheduling it. So you can release it straight away, okay? So you can say none, release as soon as I click publish. Or you could say, I want to schedule this in. So if you want to do advanced scheduling of content, so you can have content rolling out every week or every 3 days or whatever you want to do, you can click on this here, and you can see you can set the dates for release, okay? I'm just going to release this immediately because I've already made it live everywhere else, and you click publish. Now, if this is your first podcast, which it will be, what you need to do is you need to now go and set up in iTunes. So this is all the code here that you would use for your website, by the way. So if you've got a blog, you would click on sort of standard, and then you come down here to the embed code, and it's a preview code, and then you just drop that in as a on a WordPress page or a blog page, and it would add in your podcast into your blog post, which is pretty cool, isn't it? So that is now essentially live across the internet, but it's not going to show up on iTunes because you haven't connected your iTunes account. So the way that we do that is very, very simple. The first thing you need to do is you need to go to itunesconnect.apple.com, which is this one here. And then you need to put in your email address and your password. Now, obviously, that's not going to work because it's not real. But there we go. And then you put your password and you press go. When you do that, it's going to take you to a page that looks like this, except you won't have this show here because I've already published this show. And you want to click on this plus sign here, okay? And it's going to ask you for your RSS feed. Now, what the RSS feed is, when you come back to Libsyn, this is how iTunes refreshes the information and pulls in any new content. So, sorry, I'll just cancel that. We're going to go to Destinations. We're going to go Edit or View Existing. So, you see here, it says Libsyn Classic Feed, this one here. That's the feed you want to grab, like so. And then you're going to go and paste it into there, okay? Now, if you said validate here, what it will do is it will go and have a look for that. Now, it might not work because I've already done it, but we'll see. And what it will do, yeah, there you go, it's previously submitted. But what it's going to do, it's going to look that you've got an episode that's ready to go, because you need to have an episode that's ready to publish. It's going to look that you've got the cover, that's the right size. It's also going to look to see that you have the RSS feed set up, which you have, obviously, if it's validated. So that is pretty much how it works. And what it will do is it'll pull in this information here, but it'll ask you for the information. So it'll ask you what your website is. It'll ask you for any copyright. It'll ask you for your description. So you just add all of those things in. You tell it what it's all about. You choose your category, which is very important. This is how you get to #1 in the charts. And then you'll see it'll pull in any of the episodes that are already there, right? So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right? That's pretty much how you do it. When you do that, iTunes will then say, let me just stop that so you can see my face. iTunes will then say, let us go and find out what's going on, and we'll approve this. And then you'll get an email, usually within 24 to 48 hours, saying this is now approved and is now available in the iTunes library, which then means you can then go and promote your traffic and say, hey, I've got my podcast live on iTunes if you want to go and check it out. So that's how you get it on iTunes. Now, the other thing you might want to do is, let me just share the screen again. So once you've done that, that's your podcast live on Libsyn and your podcast. So then you might want to go to Stitcher Podcasts. Okay, and this is the Google version of iTunes. So if people have an Android device, a Samsung, that sort of thing, then obviously you're going to want to go and set up your Stitcher account. So the same thing applies. You sign up, you go through the details, you give them the same RSS feed, you add in the same details, you add in all the same information, and then it means that anyone who has an Android device can also find your podcast as well. All right. Now you can do the same thing for Spotify and all sorts of other destinations. For example, you can see here's some of the destinations here: Android, Spotify, so on, so on, so on. To do that, you've got to go to each individual place and ask for your show to be added to Spotify. It does take longer on Spotify, and I wouldn't recommend doing that until you've got a few episodes under your belt. Okay. Now, one little hot tip for this as well, or 2 hot tips. First hot tip: make sure you've got 4 episodes ready to go, so that when you launch, people don't come to your podcast once you've promoted it and only have one download. Now, the reason for that comes back to tip number 2. The more downloads you get after launch, the more likely you are to hit the top of the charts. Okay, so Apple, I think they refresh every 4 hours. And so every 4 hours, they're looking for how many downloads have the shows had. And there's a column which is called Hot New Shows, I think. And if yours has had more downloads than anyone else, because if you get someone to subscribe, they get all 4 episodes. And then you get 100 people to do that. That's a lot of downloads all at once. And that is how I got my first podcast to number 1 in the charts in Australia and New Zealand for 16 weeks. It stayed there. So that was huge. We got tons of traffic. Sadly, at the time, I'd only just started my business and I had no idea what the hell I was doing. And so therefore, I wasted all of that traffic because I didn't have an opt-in page. Anyway, besides the point. So if that helps, I hope it does help, by the way, for you to get your podcast set up. Go and start doing it because podcasting's cool right now. Everyone's podcasting. And you know what? It doesn't hurt to be there. I've had tons of people contact me say, hey, I found out about you because of your iTunes podcast, which kind of blows my mind. But anyway, you got to be there to be seen, right? So go do that. If you got any questions, let me know. Either below this video or wherever you're seeing this, there should be a comments box. So make sure you ask away there. Speak to you soon. Hopefully it's helpful.